Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing Dehya's showcase video where I will be talking about how she works as a unit by taking a look at her skills, her artifacts, her weapon, and then finally taking her to the abyss to see how strong I can make her out to be. And towards the end of the video, I'll be giving my full thoughts and opinion of what I overall think of her as a character. So let's get right into the video by taking a look at her skills. Her first skill is the generic normal uncharged attack, but in Dehya's case it's kinda significant where the last hit of Dehya's normal attacks kinda punches the enemy with a lot of stagger to where it pushes them away pretty far, to where it kinda makes it difficult to do a second normal attack on them. Which is kinda cool, but at the same time it kinda diminishes additional damage you can deal right afterwards. But either way, her normal attacks is not something you're gonna focus on that much when playing her. And when moving on to her elemental skill, when you proc it, she does AoE pyro damage and then spawning a field. Her elemental skill has a second trigger where whenever you press it again, she does a diving kick that deals a lot more pyro damage than before, and then taking the field that you planted before and replanting it at your current position with the remaining duration that it had. When this field is active, whenever you deal damage to enemies within the field, it does pyro damage to them. And whichever active character that is within your field will have their resistance to interruption increase, and whenever such character takes damage, a portion of that damage will be migrated into an effect called Redmane's Blood, where Dehya would then take this damage over time in the span of 10 seconds. The migrated damage stored by Redmane's Blood can only reach a certain percentage of Dehya's max HP. The field duration of the field lasts for 12 seconds and the cooldown of her elemental skill lasts for 20 seconds. Which is pretty long when taking a look at how she fully works. It is an 8-second delay, but I'll talk about it more in a bit. And when moving on to her elemental burst, whenever you proc it, she goes into a stance change where she turns her fist into these pyro punches called Roaring Barrage, where in this stage she will be unable to cast any of her other skills like her elemental skill or normal charge attacks, where whenever unleashing a strike within 0.4 seconds of each other, it will increase the speed at which the next strike will be triggered. And at the end of her rotation of her punches, she does a high diving kick that deals a whole load of pyro damage. And her burst has the same effect as her skill where whenever you proc it, she retrieves the field that she placed and replants it at the current position that you're at with the same duration that it had before. The duration of her elemental burst lasts for 4 seconds and the cooldown of her elemental burst lasts for a total of 18 seconds with an energy cost of 70. Now when looking at this, her burst does not last that very long and her cooldown is very long with a 14-second delay, with the scalings of her skill and her burst being scaled off attack and her max HP. She will get some benefit from her max HP, but the main benefit that she does scale off is attack percentage, which kinda influences the kind of supports that you want to run with her if you do want her to deal a lot more damage. And when moving on to her passive skills, her first one increases the movement speed of your party members by 10% during a specific time of day, similar to like Rosaria's. Her second passive, within 6 seconds after Dehya retrieves it, either from her skill or her burst, she will take 60% less damage from Redmane's Blood. This effect can only be triggered once every 2 seconds. Additionally, within 9 seconds after Dehya uses the field from her elemental skill, she will grant all party members the Gold Forge form state, where within this state the character's resistance to interruption will be further increased whenever they are within the field and can only be activated once every 18 seconds. And her third passive, whenever her HP is less than 40%, Dehya will recover 20% of her max HP and will restore 6% of her max HP every 2 seconds for the next 10 seconds. This effect can only be triggered once every 20 seconds. So her passives kinda give her some more defensive utility in terms of her skills, like increasing further resistance to interruption and giving her some HP whenever she takes damage from Redmane's Blood, but not really much so of offensive utility. And when quickly going over her constellations, her C1, Dehya's max HP is increased by 20% and she deals bonus damage based on her max HP when using the following attacks. Her skill damage is increased by 3.6% of her max HP and her elemental burst damage is increased by 6% of her max HP. This is a kind of goodish constellation that kind of buffs her damage a little bit, but not really massive, where that's the main thing she scales off of, is additional damage, but not really massive one. Her C2, when Dehya uses her second trigger of her elemental skill called Raging Flame, the duration of the recreated field will be increased by 6 seconds. Additionally, the damage dealt by her field will have its damage increased by 50% whenever an active character within the field are attacked. This is kinda useful in terms of buffing her elemental skill, but not really necessary when you use her in practice. It's nice, but not really a major one. Her C3 is a level increase of her elemental burst. Her C4, whenever she does a punch or the dive kick from her elemental burst hit opponents, they will restore 1.5 energy for Dehya and 2.5% of her max HP. This effect can only be triggered once every 0.2 seconds. This is kinda you're not really mainly focusing energy for Dehya if you have good energy restoration like Favonius from your supports. Her C5 is just a level increase to her elemental skill, and her C6 will have the crit rate of her elemental burst increased by 10%. Additionally, after her burst hits opponents and deals a critical hit, it will cause the crit damage of her burst to increase by 15% for the rest of the duration and extend that duration by 0.5 seconds. This effect can be triggered every 0.2 seconds, and the duration can be extended for a maximum of 2 seconds, and the crit damage can be increased by a maximum of 60% in this way. Her C6 is honestly pretty good in terms of increasing damage for her burst, but again, these are constellations and are only worth getting if you really like the character and would like to make them a lot stronger. So when looking at her skills all together, it looks like she's designed to be a defensive character where you quick swap her in to do some pyro damage with her elemental burst for 4 seconds, and then using her elemental skill to plant the field and either double tapping it twice, unless you want to save the second trigger of her skill for later in case the enemy repositioned itself pretty far, to replant the field at their current position. When talking about team comps to use with Dehya, there's really not that much that we really want Dehya to be on their team. Honestly, I think a team that can utilize resistance to interruption for any character that is mainly on field can be beneficial, but at the same time, I feel like there's a lot more better options. So for teams that I can think of to make her a quick swap damage dealer in utilizing her elemental burst is by giving her Bennett as a supportive character to increase her overall attack and give her some healing in case she needs it, and also in case if you're not planning to use a shield with her, and also the damage she can take from Red Mane's blood. In terms of increasing her damage even more, you can consider using Mona with her because of her omen from her burst increase anyone's damage by a pretty significant amount. She can help utilize Dehya's damage a little more. And the fourth character can honestly be any character that can provide any more damage buffs, like maybe an Anemo character, a shield character that can give her more attack. There are some ways that you can potentially put her in teams that can utilize her defensive buffs a lot more, maybe teams that can utilize Burgeon if you want more resistance to interruption for your on-field characters. There's not really that much options for Dehya to utilize her with, which is part of the criticism that she received because of her defensive utility and not really much of an offensive utility. So in the end, it seems there's not really much going for her as a unit that you can utilize in many different areas. Next, I will go over her artifacts to see which artifacts are best to use with her. In this showcase, I will use her with the Pyro set, mainly because I want to utilize her in some elemental reactions, mainly from her skill because I think it can do some form of damage when utilizing elemental reactions. Another artifact set you may consider is Emblem because it can increase her burst damage by a significant amount. It doesn't really increase her skill damage that much, but considering that mainly her damage comes from her burst, you may want to consider the set if you don't really care about her elemental skill damage. The last set you can use with her is Tenacity if you want to make her a more defensive supporting character that can provide some attack to your team from her elemental skill. These are my artifacts. And when going into her weapon choices, there's only a few that stand out. When looking at her 5-star options, speaking of the Red Sea, the new 5-star Claymore is obviously her best in slot because it is made for her, considering that it gives her crit rate from the main stat, and attack percentage and some max HP from the passive. Redhorn can also be a good choice in terms of increasing her damage because the main stat is crit damage. Wolf's Gravestone can be good, but if you were to use it with Bennett, it can be less valuable because the more attack you get, the less valuable it is. When looking into her 4-star options, Blackcliff can be good if you really want the crit damage from it. Serpent Spine may not be as good considering that an effect from her skill makes her take damage over time, means that she'll lose the stacks from Serpent Spine over time very easily. Any attack damage percent Claymore can be good if you don't really have that much options. For example, Luxurious Sea Lord, if you happen to have that Claymore, can increase her elemental burst damage by a pretty nice amount. But in terms of using her as a defensive supporting character, you can put Vivoni's Greatsword on her if you're really not gonna utilize her damage that much. And my overall stats for Dehya will be 71 crit rate, 239 crit damage, and 118 energy recharge. And next is the showcase where I'll take her to the abyss and see how strong I can make her out to be. So then please enjoy this showcase.
One with wind and cloud.
Delved into destiny, written in the stars.
Let's get it on.
You asked for it. Let me scribe. Going in.
Clouds high. The birds call. One with nature.
Delved into destiny. Fate is upon you. Buckle up. Let's light it up.
The wind knows me.
Teamwork is true.
Fallen leaves. Adorn my
Shadows of fate. Gloves off. I'm getting sick of this game. Look alive. Hi.
into the wind.
Let's light it up.
Clouds high. The birds.
Everybody stand. Shadows of fate decided by destiny. Hi. You asked for it. Teamwork is dreamwork.
As one with wind and cloud.
Fate is upon you. Buckle up. Gloves off.
Into the wind.
Let's light it up. Everybody stand.
Clouds high. The birds.
Written in the stars. Your dead mate. Let me scribe. Well,
The wind knows me.
delved into destiny.
One with wind and cloud. One with nature.
Teamwork is true. Decided by destiny. Let's get it on. Your dead mate.
Target practice.
Raise a storm.
Into the wind.
Let's light it up.
Clouds high. The birds.
Fate is upon you. Buckle up. Let me scrap. Let's get it on.
One with nature.
Let's light it up.
Fallen leaves, adorn my night.
Everybody stand. Reach it in the stars. You asked for it.
Goodbye.
And that is my showcase video for Dehya. Thank you guys so much for watching. And now my final thoughts and opinion about Dehya as an overall character. Honestly, Dehya didn't really have that much going for her in the beginning to make her unique or utilized enough compared to other characters that are already available. With the release of Dendro making a lot more teams that are a lot more stronger and making them more popular compared to teams that can utilize Pyro as an element. I feel like Hoyoverse dropped the ball with Dehya in terms of making her a strong Pyro burst unit that could have utilized her more as a Pyro burst carry compared to other Pyro characters that already exist. In the end, I feel like Dehya is a missed opportunity to turn her into something really special in terms of like making Pyro characters more popularized and more useful now in today's meta with like Dendro and Electro, with making Dehya not as a useful character and really a character that I don't really recommend building or even pulling for. And that is my Dehya showcase video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider leaving a like, subscribe for more content in the future, check me out on Twitch, the link will be in the description below. That's it for today, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.